Hey, my friends, we're here, and today we're going to look at the Toronto real estate numbers. Are they going in the right direction for buyers or for sellers? We're going to talk about this and more right after the intro. Well, that's right. I got my coffee here, and I've been looking at the numbers as they've just come up from Toronto Real Estate Board. And I got to tell you, well, we're going to look at them. I'll tell you in a second. There's some interesting information coming out of the numbers today for March 2023, and a lot of people have that perception that the numbers are in favor for the buyers. Well, we're going to look at something, and in fact, it might be the other way around. And if you've been following the Twitter feeds, I like to follow some from. I like to follow some of the Twitter feeds just based on, of course, education, but also a little bit of entertainment. There's a couple of feeds I follow, and I just do it just for the sake of seeing what's out there. And there's a few feeds that all they do is focus on power of sales and people that bought properties back in 2019, 2020, 2021, and now putting them up for sale for less than what they bought them for. But if you focus on that, that's all you're going to see. Whereas today we're going to look at more of a broad approach and look at the numbers kind of based on what Toronto Real Estate Board is reporting, not what they're projecting, what they're reporting. So what we just went through in March, and all we hear is lack of sellers. So what does that do to the economy? What does that do to our numbers? And of course, we just had some restrictions lighten or change from the foreign buyer policy that Canadian government put into place. So let's look at our numbers like we always do. I'm going to share my screen and go through the McGowan report, and you can download this report in the show notes. That'll be there after we finish the live. So if you're watching live with us, just wait for it. If you're watching the replay, you can download it right now. How cool is that? So this is a report I put out every month, and we're going to look at this. So if you don't want to go any further in this video, you just look at this screen right here. This is the information that's going to tell you everything, but you're not like that. You want more information. And if you are a buyer or a seller or a realtor, this is where you can get some of this information. So let's have a look at this. The first thing that we're going to look at is the number of new listings. And I'm going to show you something towards the end of the video that is going to show a graph, very visual graph. I'm a visual learner. And we're going to look at a very visual graph to kind of see where we're at currently. And so new listings, where we're going to look currently at the pricing. So new listings, we're at about 14,000 new listings for March, but you can see that's down 39% from the previous year. And that is having a dramatic impact on our markets. And as we go through these numbers, you'll see that as we go through this. So the red is always what we did the previous year. Gray is this year. So that's we're seeing more listings as we do throughout the year. So back in January, we were just shy of 10,000. February was 10,000 plus. Now we're at 14,000. Of course, we're getting into that spring market, and we can expect more listings in the month of April here. So this is year to date. We're at 34,000 new listings year to date, which is again down 30% from last year. I said that's having dramatic impact on our numbers, especially from the sales side. So we'll look at that in a second. Average price. This is the average asking price. So not the average sold price. This is the average asking price. Make sure we understand that. So we're at 1.25, which is down just ever so slightly, 3% from last year. And you can see where we were last year at 1.3. And in February, we're at about the same. January, we're about the same as the previous year, but just down ever so slightly from this year, which is part and parcel because of the lack of listings. And now we have we have sellers and agents, listing agents, putting together a sales strategy of maybe pricing the home just slightly under fair market value to drive multiple offers. And now we're seeing that We're seeing that right across Toronto here again. And it's not based on people who are going nuts and spending, 20, 30% over asking, but it is based on the fact that there's lack of listings. Average price, this is the year to date. So we're down 1% from last year. This is the average asking price, not sold price. Let's scroll down because now we get into the slides that mean something. Sold properties are at 7,500 for the month of March right here. And that's down 37% from last year, which is a big, big difference. And you can see last year we hovered at 12,000 for March. And we've been seeing that number, of course, increase over the last several months right through here. So this is this monthly sold properties. And again, it has everything to do with the lack of listings. So as we scroll a little bit further, we're going to see sold properties for the year down 42% from last year. So that's almost half the properties that we were seeing from this time last year, which is a big number. But look at this. We are starting to trend up, which is good. So we just need more listings, my friends, more listings. If you're sitting or you've been thinking about selling, now might be a good time to talk to your agent or me about selling that house. Okay, average sale price. Now this is where it starts to mean something. So we're down 15% from last year. Last year was 1.28. This is right across the board of Toronto Real Estate Board. And we're just hovering at just shy of 1.1, I should say. And you can see dating back to January. Let's go back to December and maybe even November. And you can see this number, it hovered, it dropped a little bit. And since the beginning of the year, we've been just on an upwards trend. So there's a lot of people out there that are saying, I'm just waiting for the bottom to hit. Well, to me, this says perhaps the bottom is hit. Now we're going to see some more distressed sellers come on board over the next couple of months. But I got to tell you, I follow Power Sales on TRREB, and we're only at this moment, I believe there's just about 55 Power Sales on all of Toronto Real Estate Board, and a lot of sellers, so lenders, if your home is listed or located perhaps in in Kitchener, all the way out past, maybe up to Peterborough and far north is Huntsville, or even farther north. They'll post that on the Toronto Real Estate Board. So that includes properties outside of the actual region as well. So keep that in note when you're looking at all these properties. You're like, wow, there's a lot of properties. Well, some of them are outside of really the GTA. And we're only hovering at about 55 listings, power sale listings, and some of them have been listed for many, many months, and others have just starting to come up in the last couple of weeks. A power listing sale, we can get into we can get into this a little bit deeper. Power sale listings typically are on the market for probably 21 days. And that's based on a few things. We're going to see a little change every now and then, but probably 21 days, maybe even 28 days. And that has to roll back to how our government allows power sales and the policies around power sales, the rules and regulations. The seller, the lender, has to prove that they've marketed the home as best they can and received a fair market value offer for that property. So if you see a power sale come up and it's only been on the market for 1 to 2 days, you put an offer in, I don't want to guarantee you, but you're probably 99% sure you're not going to get that house on that offer. It's got to go back and forth multiple times. Usually there's a 72-hour irrevocability, which means once you put an offer in, they have 72 hours to accept it or do something with it. And it's got to go through the lawyers, and the lawyers have to talk to people and so forth. So it's a long process. It's not quick and done, as many might think. And that's based on the policies in which they can sell these properties. Okay, let's move forward. Average sale price year to date, we're at 1.8, and we're going to look at days on market. And this is where I was completely wrong because I didn't see the lack of inventory come. Right now, we're sitting at 20 days on market. I thought we were going to be closer to 30, possibly even more days on market. Yeah, that is up from last year. However, it is down since the beginning of the year. You can see that here. And that's, again, based on the lack of inventory. And we're going to look at some charts in just a second on why there is not to say why there is a lack of inventory. I have some thoughts around that, but we're going to look at that in just a second. Um, this is year to date days on market. Yeah, we're definitely different than we were last year, over double. However, that number is coming down ever so slightly as we just talked about. Okay, average sale to ask ratio, we're at 100%. So you list your home for $1 million, more or less. You're going to sell it for $1 million. In fact, a little bit more here. Uh, at this current time, and that's just again based on lack of inventory and based on sellers and listing agents looking at the data and listing the home at fair market value. Year to date, same number, 100%. So download this report, but I want to show you some charts here, or a chart here. And what we have here is, this is how I pull all of this information. So this information, what we're looking at is green is the new listings, red is the total solds. And if you can see it, there's a blue dotted line that runs through this, and that's your median price. And this goes back to last April. And you can see last April on Toronto Real Estate Board, we had 1,666 sales on April 9th. And if I scroll all the way over to the other side, and April 1st, we had 1,726 sales. So we actually have more sales than we did last year. And what I want you to see is the difference of the number of listings that we had last April 9th, or last April, compared to this April. So those numbers again, 4,780 listings, and look at that huge difference. So over double the amount of listings than what sold. And if we look this year, we're at 3,277, and there's only 1,700 listings, or we had 1,700 listings sold. So now you can start to see that discrepancy. So what we're seeing here, if you doubled that number, that's 3,400. That's less than a month's worth of inventory. A little bit more. Sorry, let me rephrase that. And the other big thing here is our median price. Of course, last April, it was quite high, and then we've seen that market go down over the summer months, and this is our median price. And if I look, mid-October, we're at 940. We got down into January at 834, December 834, but that's typical in that late December, early January time frame. And as we've been moving along, we've seen that number creep up. There was a week in March where it did drop to 913, March break. And then as we see April come around, we're back to, we'll call it $1 million. That's your median price for Toronto, right across the board, which is incredible. What I wanted you to visualize is the number of listings compared to last year. We're seeing the same amount of solds according to this chart, but the number of listings compared to last year. So again, if you're thinking of listing your home and getting your home sold, now might be that opportunity in the market to get that done. So interesting information coming out of Toronto Real Estate Board. I said earlier, perhaps there's a reason why people are hanging onto the properties, or the market's kind of shifting like this. Is definitely a seller's market. History would tell us this is a seller's market at this moment. Well, here's what we need to know. In a seller's market, that's typically you have inventory 3 months or less. And when you are a little bit confused as a seller and buyer, what do? You do nothing. So that's what we're seeing right now. We have a lot of buyers out there, but sellers are hanging on, of course, based on interest rates and things like that. But we're starting to see the interest rates just drop ever so slightly. We're into those mid-4 numbers, more or less. And yes, that's for the 5-year fixed rate. Of course, variable rates, time will tell what happens with the variable rate and the buyers that bought a couple of years ago, especially in 2021 into 2022, when those numbers were really, really inflated. And now that they're coming up on that and variable rate, that number is starting to flip on how much they're paying every month. So with the mortgage rate, or the mortgage amount that they're paying every month, they're really only paying interest. And now the interest payment that they have to make is higher than the monthly mortgage payment. So we're seeing that, and I'll have a video based on that, what that is. I'll post that later, and how you can kind of look at that. Anyways, Reach out to me. There's the dancing gear. Always happy to have people reach out to me. I've had a lot of people do that over the last week or two based on what's going on in the market because there's a lot of uncertainty in the market and everything. So do that. And I'm happy to talk with you. Know that we are hosting more podcasts. I got 2 podcasts that you can listen to. One, Gary Talks Real Estate, where I just talked about how we got the pricing all wrong. So if you want to watch that, go watch that. And the other podcast, the Not So Black and White Real Estate podcast, I do with my business partner, Colin Campbell. We have a lot of episodes that have just been released and a lot more coming. So watch out for that. One that we just did is with Tat Landato. So be sure to look out for that. Anyways, that's it for me. We'll see everyone in the next show. Goodbye for now.